This is Andy from The Crawling, and you're listening to Into the Unknown Radio.
Welcome to the first episode of 2020 of Into the Unknown Radio. I'm Dan P, and in this episode we're going to be making noise with doom metalers The Crawling. I'll be collecting the thoughts and musings of the vocalist and guitarist Andy Clarke on the beginnings of the band, what 2020 has in store, and everything in between. I'm going to start by thanking my guest Andy for joining me.
Thanks very much for having us on the show.
Right, I want to jump back into December 2018 real quick. I just picked up a copy of Metal Hammer magazine, and I was happy to see there was a free CD that month, because I usually walk away with one or two new bands to check out. And that's where you guys came in. It was your title track from the second album, Wolves and the Hideous White, and it was giving me some serious early My Dying Bride, Anathema, Catatonia vibes. I'm pretty sure I picked up a copy of your album the same day, actually. And I think you'll remember, Andy, I featured you guys when I very first started this podcast. I hadn't really got a clue what I was doing, and I still haven't pretty much. I began the whole thing with a show I called Episode Zero, and it was basically a vehicle for me to figure out if I could make something up with a little preparation and not a lot of know-how and have it sound halfway decent. And as it turns out, you can't. It sounded pretty shitty. That's why I sort of went away, got myself a little smarter to the basic recording practices, tried again a couple of months later. But anyway, enough about me. I want to pick your brain about your musical beginnings. How did you get started in making music, and what are your memories of how you came to form The Crawling?
My musical beginnings, it's a long time ago now, 1990 probably. I had a friend of mine who played guitar. We used to go around to another fella's house and drink cider and stuff like that, and he'd always pull the electric guitar out. And he was always playing Metallica tracks and Slayer, and it was just amazing to watch him replicate things that I love in the room with me. So that just gave me the burn to play guitar, to be able to do what he could do. So yeah, it just led me to getting a guitar, and basically started jamming in the house, just learning Metallica songs and Sepultura and whatever, stuff like that. And after a wee while, I haven't a very good tolerance for learning the instrument, so I kind of got really bored learning how to play the guitar. Once I was able to write riffs, then it was like, yeah, I basically want to be in a band. So that's really what I did. At the time, was friendly with a couple of other guys. One was a drummer, so that was the hardest part sorted. Jammed with him for years in my mum and dad's garage, and basically formed a band and did a gig. And that was 1994, I think, was the first time I actually played live. So that's how I basically ended up playing in a band. I've done that ever since. Just always enjoyed the being in a band thing more than the actual playing guitar or all that sort of stuff. It was always about writing music and writing lyrics and creating an atmosphere and putting that across. Other bands I've been in, so that started as a kid, and then realistically it wasn't until 1998 I sort of got involved with Honey for Christ. Again, just a group of people at the time. We just thought, yep, let's start a band. And I was on guitar, 5-piece at the time, with actually the original drummer that I played with as a wee lad. So we started doing Honey for Christ for like a dark heavy metal sort of band. And yeah, we did that for well over 13 years. It kind of fell by the wayside a wee bit. The drummer sort of got sick and couldn't really play a lot. We got our replacement drummer, and unfortunately after a couple of years of playing, things started to happen, but sadly he died. So that kind of finished me with bands for a long time. I'd say 3 or maybe 4 years until The Crawling started. And that was whenever Stuart, the bass player, got in touch and was like, yeah, I want to jam out some death metal once a week or whatever, if you fancy just doing it. Wasn't supposed to be anything serious, so I just thought, yeah, fine, no problem, let's do that. But really, once we got in the room and I got my mojo back for being in a band and thought, yeah, do you know what, fuck this, let's change a few members and we'll do this properly. So kept Stuart on bass, I went on to vocals and obviously played guitar. And then I contacted Gary. I've known Gary for years. He's played in a load of other bands, Zombified and Overoath, and he's a really good drummer, and I wanted to keep the band as tight and small as possible. So if we got a drummer in, bass player, guitars and vocal, we were done. That's how The Crawling started.
Would you say there are any bands in particular that influence your writing style, and can you see that changing anytime soon?
There's a lot of bands have a massive influence on me. I think if it was to sort of a broad stroke would be sort of like slow doom death stuff, likes of My Damn Bride, Catatonia, Anathema, Paradise Lost, those sort of like peaceful bands. That would be some of the favourite bands I would listen to. So I think as a result of that, have a massive influence on how I write. But I don't know, I think there's a mixture of stuff. As I say, the likes of My Damn Bride would be, say, just one of my biggest influences, and early Anathema. Their songs are quite long and, you know, could be really be drawn out, you know, pure sort of atmospheric and emotional based stuff. So I do that. But at the same time, I also like sort of a lot of catchy stuff as well, you know, and stuff with a hook in it. I think the later Catatonia sort of has that vibe. And I also like bands like Motley Crue and various other things. And I think bands that have that real hook in their music, is something I like to incorporate into our stuff alongside the sort of slow death stuff. In terms of, will it change? I don't think so. I don't know. It's very hard to tell. I suppose you could argue, a lot of people have told us even from our second album, Wolves, in comparison to the debut, that the songs are particularly different, which to me it's just a continuation of the sort of same thread. I mean, it's still same three guys, death metal vocal, playing slow death metal. I don't really see massive changes, but yeah, I suppose I've started looking into new stuff. Just started doing a few demos, and yeah, I mean, I can hear changes. But no, I think it's the same sort of vein. I can't imagine a very big change from where we are to go into something completely different. You know, you hear comments like, "Oh, is it going to be a clean vocal? Are you ever going to start singing sort of properly?" And it's like, no, I can't see that happening. The crawling sounds best doing what way we do it at the moment, so I think I'm gonna keep that going.
Okay, this next one can be a toughie. It's kind of like asking a parent which is their favourite child, but I want to know what your favourite crawling album, EP, single release is and why.
My favourite from the crawling in terms of what we've released, I don't think we have enough material to just pick like one particular album. But if I had, under duress, if I had to pick a track, I think it would be Drowned in Shallow Water. From the Wolves and Hideous White album. Whenever I'm writing songs, I'm really always trying to convey emotion and imagery and, you know, an atmosphere with the music. And, you know, I think I do that quite well. A lot of the songs are quite dark and, you know, resonate with a lot of people. But I always feel like I'm trying, the next song could be better, the next song, I can try and encapsulate that even further. When I wrote Drowned in Shallow Water, it was so simplistic. You know, the riffs, there's not a lot happening there on the guitar at all. It's purely literally bass, guitar, drums all together with a vocal that makes it sound the way it does. I think the lyrical content plus that really stripped down music really captures it, exactly what I was trying to do. I mean, the song itself was literally about the breakdown of a long-term relationship that just appears to come out of nowhere and just completely fall apart. And it's that feeling that you're just drowning in emotions because you just didn't see it coming. It's just like a tidal wave and just floors you. You don't really know what's going on or how it happened, but it's happened, you know, and you have to deal with it. And that is what Drowned in Shallow Water is about. So I think when we play that song live, I always notice that people in the room seem to start to pay a little bit more attention. There's clean guitars. It really is very, very quiet and not usually much noise happening or chatter amongst people, which sometimes you get at gigs. So I think that I've managed to write something that conveys a message, and when it's played live, people really seem to grab onto it, and that makes me strangely very happy whenever I'm playing it. And every time I do play it, I'm able to put myself back to when I wrote the lyrics and what was in my head at the time. And I think that's why it's my favourite song, because I can go right back there and, as I say, people's response to it.
Okay, so thinking about making the music, are there some things musically that you didn't think would work but actually ended up coming out pretty cool? Or something you thought that would work but didn't?
Yeah, I think there are always things that, you know, whenever you sort of write something, especially if I'm sitting in the house, I write a lot by myself and I'm doing something and there aren't the guys there to bounce it off. So I'm writing a riff or a drum idea or just a song structure and thinking, this is a bit bizarre. I don't really think it's going to work. I'm actually going through this at the moment right now because I'm demoing some new material and it's definitely slightly different to what we've done previously. or I think anyway. And I'm just sort of, every time I play it back, I'm sort of thinking I need to let people hear this before I move any further, because it's a little bit different. In the previous stuff, I think, again, it's not a major thing, like, but I think when we did Acid on My Skin from the album Anatomy of Loss, it's clean guitar, kind of strummy sort of guitar lines. I mean, you could have done an acoustic and it would have sounded the same, with obviously the death metal vocal over the top for the verses. And I remember at the time thinking, this is not going to work. I think it sounded good on tape. I was quite happy with the recording, and I was like, yep, that's really cool. A nice bit of reverb in the guitars, and layered up some of the vocals, and it was just mixed really nicely. Slight bit of distortion on the vocal just to give it just a bit more bite. So when I listened back to the final mix, it was like, yeah, that works really, really well. But I did think when it came to live, I remember even the three of us in the practice room going, this is never going to be played live. Acid on My Skin, it's just not going to happen. I don't know how we ended up doing it. I don't think we had a long set to do, and it was like, well, with no fucking choice, you have to play it. You need to play for 55 minutes. We have to play everything. And we did Acid, and it went down really, really well. And yeah, we've kept it in the set. It's played an awful lot. And occasionally when we have to do an additional track at the end of the set, we would always break out Acid. I'd say it goes down really, really well. So I think that's one of the standout things I can think of off the top of my head. Not so much musically based as well, but whenever we shot the video for Poison Orange, we'd done a couple of videos at that point, and we thought we would do a video with no band members in it. So we shot like a mini movie for Poison Orange, like a plague doctor and a patient and a nurse in this sort of hospital type environment. And yeah, we had all these great ideas, and Carrie, my wife from Exposing Shadows, shot it. And yeah, in the room, it was like, yep, this is definitely what we're after. This is going to look fucking amazing. And then we came home and got the footage, and it was like, oh Jesus, this is going to be so hard to put together and so hard to, get that atmosphere across. And that took fucking forever, editing the whole thing down. We finished the video and got it all edited and color graded, and we were sort of like, yep, okay, we're done. And we sort of watched it back, and we're like, oh my god, people are just going to like, what the fuck are you playing at? What is this? But we released the video, and people really liked it, and I got a lot of messages from people who were just like, liked the video and thought it was great what we tried to do with it. The fact that we weren't in it as a band and strictly had actors, so to speak. So yeah, that was cool. That was cool.
Okay, so you guys came together in 2014. So you're still quite a young band, actually, figuratively speaking anyway. So do you have any moments that you're particularly proud of in that time?
We've done a lot of really cool things. I mean, there are so many parts to that. The fact even if I've managed to find three guys in the same sort of vein of music who like doing the same thing is quite an achievement as a band. It's quite difficult to get people to stick together and commit to something. So that in itself is an achievement. And then obviously we've recording wise, it's all worked really well, and I've done so many great shows. I think, everyone's sort of different with this maybe. For me personally, I think it's a toss up between probably playing Inferno in Norway. We'd only just released a 3-track EP, and Inferno in Norway were looking for bands, so I forwarded the CD to them and thought nothing else of it because it's Inferno and it's one of the coolest festivals out there. And they just got in touch and were like, yeah, we like your CD and want you to come over and play Inferno. It was in 2016, I think, and that was just staggering for the band at our stage. We'd only been going just about a year. To be asked so early in our career to play something like Inferno was just absolutely mind-blowing. I think for me, that's probably one of the big achievements anyway. Says for me personally, but I know the guys, there's other things that everyone loves doing. But yeah, there's been so many. I mean, Bloodstock was fantastic. Metal Days was phenomenal. Playing stuff like Siege of Limerick at home is fantastic. Yeah, I mean, we're very lucky and very fortunate to get to do a lot of cool things. Literally been jumped in planes and flown places and played shows. And Malta was great, and Germany with Napalm Death was unreal. I mean, it was just absolutely brilliant at Full Metal Mensa, and that's another standout moment. So yeah, there's a lot. But yeah, for big achievements for me, it's definitely Inferno in Norway from a personal point of view, because I've been as a fan for a lot of years and then got to play it and been back since and stuff. And yeah, I think it's a class festival. And yeah, I think at that moment in time, getting to play Inferno, hell of an achievement for us.
Blood runs cold.
Okay, I ask every guest to pick a song of theirs that they would consider their finest work and give us a little insight as to why. So pick us a song and give us a little background to it, please.
My finest work? Don't think it's happened yet, but what I have to date, I think the title track from Wolves in Hideous White as a standalone song, an album opener, and as the track that appeared after our debut album, because the debut album was very well received and it sort of felt quite a bit of pressure whenever we were releasing the next album. So I remember writing a tracks written at the time for the Wolves album, and I remember thinking there's no opener here and we have no set opener, and I was like, I need to write something that really drives something home and really just a really powerful big starting song. So I wrote Wolves in Hideous White, the track itself, and I think in terms of the finest thing we've done, I think it's been the most effective at doing what it was supposed to do. It's a really good track. It's good hooks in it. It's really fucking heavy, and it opened up the album beautifully. And it worked really well in the music video and live. It's just a cracker to open the set with. Even now, I'm sort of thinking, Jesus, how could I write another song that's gonna open a set as well as Wolves in Hideous White does? So I think that's a lot to do with it. I like the lyrics of it too. I like the whole concept behind Wolves in Hideous White. It's basically about an individual who is basically not happy at home. So he goes out, does a 9-to-5 job and comes home and nothing's better even at home. You know, the wife is just a pain in the hole, and the children, the wolves, are just constantly taken from him, and the bride, is the hideous white, is just a drain on. And then, yeah, basically his life's an entire misery, which a lot of people choose to go through. So that was the sort of background to the lyrics of it, and I think the music conveys that really, really well. Yeah, it's a good track, and yeah, it does exactly what it was supposed to do.
Okay, I'm going to get cheesy because everybody always loves to hear stories from the road, shenanigans, things that people get up to. So have you got any sort of cool, funny stories from your time on the road with the band over the years?
So the crawling as a whole, we're old. Well, Stuart and I are old. Guy's not as old, but like Stuart and I, we're in our 40s when it comes to funny stories on the road. Yeah, those days are kind of behind me. We always have great crack, and obviously we record a lot of stuff on the video vlogs, and you can watch a lot on the YouTube channel. So there's a lot of cool memories attached to those sort of video logs, which is why I quite enjoy having those. And they're on YouTube, so they're there forever. But we don't have any standout sort of rock star moments or, really mental things that happen. I think for that sort of insanity, I'd have to go right back to the early 2000s, Honey for Christ. Whenever I was on tour, it was like a couple of Irish states with a couple of other Northern Ireland bands, and we stopped off at a petrol station in it. So there was a tour van with the people in it, like a minibus thing, and then a transit with all the gear in it. We'd stopped off to get fuel or something like that, and I think the singer at the time decided it would be class if we brought the giant ice cream cone that was outside the petrol station to advertise the ice cream in the van and took it for the rest of the weekend with us. So that's kind of what we did. So wrestled with a 6-foot ice cream cone, pulled it out of the ground, connected with chains, and basically bundled into the back of a transit. And yeah, that went and did a couple of dates. The fundamental flaw in all this was that the rental number was on the side of the van. So needless to say, the petrol station checked the CCTV and saw that a couple of fucking arseholes had stolen their ice cream, and they had the phone number of who rented the van. So they rang the rental company, and the rental company then rang the tour manager at the time and was like, yeah, listen, they're phoned the police and you're going to have to ring the police because they know it's you that stole it. So at this point we had to then ring the police, and they were like, yeah, you have to just bring it back. Yeah. So then we played the gig at 4 a.m, drove back to the local police station and presented them with a 6-foot ice cream cone. And we also received a £250 fine, I think, at the time, which went to the singer. And he kept ringing me and going, the police are coming to the house looking for this fine. So yeah, we had to pay that. And we didn't even get to keep the ice cream cone either. So yeah, that was pretty stupid, but it was funny. At the time, it was fucking hilarious, absolutely hilarious. There's photos of the cone in the back of the minibus, and it's on stage, and it was getting dragged around everywhere we played. It was pretty funny looking back, but yeah, also idiotic.
Looking to this year now, so what does 2020 have in store for the crawling? You got any new music coming out? Big shows coming up? Anything you can tell us?
So 2020, it's really only started. I have been trying to plan the year, pretty much 2020 planned in one go, and it's going pretty well. It's going pretty well. A lot of help from James, the sourcing project, with that sort of thing, and he's helped me sort some shows out, and a lot of the promoters around Ireland have been great in getting in contact with us and booking us in for this year. So confirmed shows I can tell you about, we have Urban Assault on 20th of February in Cork. We've been invited back to Siege of Limerick again, so big shout out to John for having us back to that in Limerick, 12th of April. We're also doing the Iron Mountain Metal Festival, 1st, 2nd, 3rd of May, I think the dates are for that. It should be good. It's a bit off the wall as well. 3 days, bring your own beer, camping in the field type thing. So that'll be really interesting. So those are the ones we have booked solid. We also have Monolith later in the year in Cork as well. Process of booking, a couple of Scottish dates confirmed, booking some UK stuff. One's confirmed, which we can't just reveal just yet, but it's going to be absolutely fantastic, and we are so looking forward to doing that. So yeah, I'm basically just running them through the year, just getting as many shows as we can. Probably 2 Belfast shows planned. One's concrete, and one we're just trying to work out a date and what we're going to do with it, because we don't like to play Belfast too many times a year, because just help create a bit of interest and make it a good show. There'll be more videos released this year. Definitely the remaining tracks from Wolves and Hideous White will have music videos. 100% got one planned, actually shooting some of it this weekend. Another one, definitely like a playthrough type thing or live performance. Another one with a sort of storyline for, but we'll have to see how the time goes, because these things can take longer, and yeah, they can overrun and then you never get around to doing it. Because we were supposed to do a video for Catatonic back in 2017, and we never actually got around to doing it. The album was out, Wolves, before we had time to shoot it, so it kind of had to be abandoned, unfortunately. Music wise, I don't think so. I had considered doing an album this year and trying to get it out, but whenever we started to book the shows, and it was like, I'm not sure when I'm going to be able to fit that in, because you don't just go and record an album and then release it. You have to write it first of all, record it, get artwork arranged, and merchandise to go with it, and book shows, and get a proper PR campaign in place, and all that takes a massive amount of time. And I've done it sort of simultaneously with the last 2 albums, and it kind of became stressful doing everything at once. So what I would really like to do this time is have the album written and make sure it's absolutely nailed and solid, and then start to put everything together around it, like the PR campaign, the music videos and all that sort of stuff, and be able to book shows around it, and tour dates, that sort of thing. So that is kind of my plan. I have started writing. It's just a demo level myself. 2 tracks done. I'm currently working on a 3rd today, actually, doing some demo vocals today, and yeah, it's cool. It's definitely, as I said, there's something slightly different about it. So I feel like I need a test audience, because it is definitely a bit different. But I can't keep repeating myself, so at least I can put a different slant on the new stuff. So I don't know. Maybe if it happened to just go into the complete zone and get the tracks, 8 or 9 tracks just banged out and demoed, and I think these are the ones, and then the guys like it, and we can get learning it and recording it in time. It might happen, but it's not really the plan this year. This year is more. It's just more of a live show year, I think. We did a lot of shows last year, really enjoyed it, and so I think this year we're gonna do the same again. Just some more music videos to go with it, and various other bits and pieces. So that's the plan. But things change. But a lot of it does depend on creativity and what's happening in the world and what we get offered and all that sort of stuff. But we're booking a lot ourselves, plus what we're being approached to do. So it's shaping up to be a good year.
Okay, we're going to wrap this up now. So is there anything you'd like to say in closing to your fans here in the UK?
If there's anywhere you want us to play, post on social media, email us, or contact local promoters, and just basically throw our name out there, especially for festivals. The thing is, because we're in Northern Ireland, it costs 400 and whatever odd quid for us to travel across the water to hit the mainland before we can do anything, and that is a huge expense, and to be able to get that money back at shows is quite difficult. So we pay for a lot of this stuff ourselves, which sort of restricts how many times a year we can do it. So what we need to know is if there's places that people want us to play, that's better. If we're going to go over and make the effort, it's better if we go to places where people want us to go, rather than just sort of, shot in the dark, going over, playing somewhere that'll have us, and then, there not being a fan base there. So that's definitely something we would like to happen. Tell us what you want us to play. And if you have festivals in your area, they usually work better for us in terms of getting money back and that sort of stuff. And obviously, if there's festivals, there tends to be more people there, and then they'll buy t-shirts, and that just gets us a bit more income to help cover the costs. So yeah, get on to local festivals, local promoters. We do want to play more on the mainland, especially. It just requires a lot of arranging and a bit more money. So the only way that is for people to help us. So spread the name about. And like all those things, sign up, like us on Facebook, sign up to the YouTube channel, follow us on Instagram, all under the Crawling Band. You'll be able to find us. And just, tell other people. And that's it. Thanks very much for having us on the show. Really enjoyed it, and it was good to talk about all things the crawling. And we're the first interview we've done this year, which is also very cool. So thanks again, and check out the crawling, sign up for all the stuff, and hopefully see you at some point out there.
Thanks to my guest, Andy Clarke of The Crawling, for appearing on Making Noise on Into the Unknown Radio. Thanks and shout-outs go out to the other members of The Crawling, Stuart Rainey and Gary Beattie, and thanks to Peter Clarke and Grind Scene Records. You can pick up merchandise for the band on their Bandcamp page. Be sure to like and subscribe to the guys on Facebook, Instagram, and don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button on the Into the Unknown Radio pages. Follow the Linktree link for more information. I've been Dan P. Thanks for listening, and catch you next time.